Hello and welcome to Excel Virtually Global 2024, the fourth running of this. I'm glad to be one of the hosts yet again. And it's the ninth running of all these Unlock Excel type events where we've done them either physically or virtually, which is what we're doing now. Hi, my name is Liam Bastick. I head up some product here in Melbourne, Australia. And I am, for my sins, what they call a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional, or MVP, in Excel. 14 times managed to blag my way on that now. And I'm going to talk to you about Excel again and some of the latest and greatest things and how they can actually help you sort out something that is a common problem in Excel that's always been a little bit awkward to actually work. And I think the most common solution to this recently has been using Power Query. Now, I won't be looking at that solution here. I'm going to be looking at a formulaic approach using fuzzy matching in Excel with what is known as regex functions, which is going to mean I'm going to have to explain what I mean by fuzzy matching and also what regex is. Now, if it was regex, then obviously I'm talking about my wife's ex, but that's another story for another day. And yes, the jokes are not going to get any better, so I pronounce it regex. So I don't know if it's regex or regex or whatever, but that's how I do it. So we're going to need to clarify certain things. So let's get going. So if you're sitting comfortably, I'm going to make a start. And if you're not, I'm going to make a start anyway. So what is regex? Well, the term regex is an abbreviation of regular expressions and is a language used for pattern matching text content. Oh, that sounds like I've read it. Yes, I think I did. It's frequently implemented in various programming languages such as C, C++, C#, Java, Python, VB script, and now most importantly, Excel. Now, Microsoft has stated that the version of regex that's come to Excel is a particular dialect known as a flavor. And notice flavor is without the U for all of you non-Americans out there. And it's called PCRE2, and then in brackets, PHP is greater than or equal to 7.3. Now, that probably means something to somebody, but it doesn't mean much to me, I'm afraid. This is where my blagging only gets me so far. But it's useful if you're trying to understand what the underlying technical stuff is here, or you're trying to look up the syntax online, because there are different versions of regular expressions out there. So, yeah, I suppose it's a great name for a baby, but, you know, it's one of those things out there. And so if it's come to Excel, well, okay, what exactly has come to Excel? Well, it's three new Excel functions have come to what we call the beta, and I definitely mean beta rather than better here, versions of Excel. And the three functions are as follows. You've got regex extract, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 arguments, the first two mandatory, the other two optional, which are text, pattern, return mode, and ignore case. We've got regex replace, which has 5 arguments. The first 3 are required and the other 2 are optional. So you've got text and pattern again, then replacement, and then the 2 optional ones are occurrence and ignore case. And finally, you've got regex test with 3 arguments, the first 2 required being text and pattern yet again. Do you see a pattern to this text? And the third one is another one that's in all of them as well, ignore case. Now I'm going to go through all of those shortly, so don't worry if I'm just giving the executive summary at the moment, because that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm giving the executive summary. So clearly, we need to learn a little bit about regular expressions before we continue. So I'm going to go through a bit of syntax in a minute. And you should know as well that they're alternatively referred to as rational expressions upon occasion. And a regular expression, though, is a sequence of characters that specifies what's known, and I put this in inverted commas, so imagine I've got my fingers out, my double quotes going here, as a match pattern in text. Now, you've most likely used this functionality in Excel already, even if you've not realized it, when you've used features such as find and replace, or by using find or search functions in Excel, because you're perhaps looking for particular characters, but you may have used wildcards as well and things on like this. Now, the purpose of these 3 new functions is to help you to match, locate, and manage the text in Excel, or the text strings in Excel. That's what we're actually looking at here. So, with this in mind, yeah, the text is probably obvious, but understanding the patterns requires you to learn the syntax for regular expressions. That's where we go back to that PCRE2 I was mentioning before. And don't forget, PHP must be greater than or equal to 7.3. Making it sound like I know what I'm talking about. I haven't got a clue what any of that means, and feel free to put in the chat and let me know, because at the moment I'm just blithering away like an idiot. So I've got a little crash course table on this slide here, which is going to change a little bit as we go, which summarizes some, but not all of the main syntax elements here. And these are often referred to as tokens. Now, it's going to be the world's most boring presentation ever if I just read each and every one of them out here, but there are some that are more important than others. So the second one in the table to the right there is a dot or a period, and that matches any character other than what is a new line, which is when you press a carriage return and go to the next line in the formula bar. The caret that you see, the third one in there, the little circumflex or the hat as it's sometimes known, that matches the start of the string without consuming any characters. So if you've got a multi-line mode used, i.e. it's on more than one line, this will also match immediately after a new line character. Now, I'm not going to go through them all, but I am going to look at the ones that start with the letter A, which starts with the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth row down, which has got the A question mark. Now, where it says A, that could be anything you're talking about here, but it's saying A question mark means match either 0 or 1 occurrence of A. And so it matches either the A character or nothing at all. So you can put a B there or a W. You can put other things in there, but it's just saying look for an A, and where it's either a 0 or 1 occurrence, and it will return where it is. A star, on the other hand, an award I wish I'd got sometime in my pre-university life, never managed it, matches 0 or more occurrences of A. And so it's looking for consecutive A appearances in there. A plus, again, another grade I never got, that matches 1 or more of A. So it can't be 0, it's got to be 1 or more. So this, again, matches consecutive A characters. But then you can also put things in the braces or the curly brackets. So you've got A, and then in the braces, the number 4, which it says match exactly 4 instances of A. And for A, you can put whatever you want. A, and then in the braces 4, comma, and nothing, means match 4 or more instances of A. And if you do A and then in the braces 4, 6, that means match between 4 and 6 instances of A. So you've got this power in here, which you think, how would I do that in Excel otherwise? And that's, just some of the abilities in here. Now, I'm not going to go through them all. We're just showing you what there is. The slide does continue here, so we've got others in here. And you can look through some of these in here. So if you wanted to match a null character, or what's known as the Unicode character U plus 2400, you can see towards the bottom there, you've got \0 is one of the things in here. But you've also got \D to match any decimal or a digit and its equivalent to putting in square brackets 0 to 9, which is another thing that you can actually do there. Interesting perhaps is the next part of the table, where you've got the token in square brackets, not braces here, A, B, C. It matches an A, B, or C character. And then if you've actually got in square brackets the circumflex ABC, that says match any character except A, B, or C. Now, a key one is the third one here, because we're going to be looking at this a bit later when we're looking at fuzzy matching, is A, and then what I call this pipe. I don't know. It's the perpendicular line here. A perpendicular line B, or A pipe B, as I say. This is an alternative match. It's matching what is either before or after the pipe. In this case, either A or B. Match that. And if you have in square brackets A to Z, that matches any characters between A and Z inclusive, but it is case sensitive. And so if you look at the next one, which is the square brackets, the circumflex or the caret A to Z, close square brackets, that says match anything except those in the range A to Z inclusive. But again, it's case sensitive. So if you wanted to have any A to Z, you'd have to put in square brackets A to Z in lowercase, and then with no space, capital A to capital Z, close square brackets, and that will match any characters between A to Z lowercase or A to Z capitals inclusive. And so on, and so on, and so on. So you can see exactly what's going on in there. We've also then got in here more. We can look at things like the lowercase. So you've got square bracket, and then a colon, lower, and then a colon, and 2 more square brackets. So it matches lowercase letters, which is equivalent to A to Z, and so on. And it gets more and more complicated. Now, this is a crash course. I've only got, a maximum of 50 minutes to present this, so I can't go through the whole syntax of PCRE2. It's good that I remember that, isn't it? Regular expression code. But you get the idea, and you've got this as a way of actually showing you how you can sort of put your syntax together, but you need these regex functions. So with those regex functions in mind, let's turn our attention to those three new Excel functions that have come out recently and start there before we look at fuzzy matching. So the first of the three then is regex extract. And rather than keep yapping on a PowerPoint slide, let's go turn our attention to Excel. Okay, so I've just mentioned the first cab off the rank is regex extract, and that's what we're going to use here with this little illustration where I've got my name here in cell A2, Liam Bastick. That is my text. Now, what regex extract does is used to extract one or more strings that match a specified pattern from the text being analysed. You can extract the first match, all the matches, or capture groups from the first match. Its syntax is very simple. So if I go in here and I start typing it in, if I go regex, it will bring up the three, and it's the first one I want, so I'll just tab to get regex extract, and you'll see that we've got four arguments in there. The first two are required, and the last two are optional. The first one, text, is, as I say, required, represents the text that you're going to be searching within. So here, that will be Liam Bastick, so I'm going to click on this cell, A2. Then the second argument is the pattern. What is it we're seeking in here? Also required, this is the regular expression to be applied. And you can see in the description here in cell B6, it's going to extract the first name based upon letters within the pattern, and then square brackets with speech marks, a bit like the text function in Excel, which also has the maths where you have to put the actual custom number formatting in speech marks. It's going to be open square brackets, A to Z lowercase, A to Z capital letters, no space between them, close square brackets, plus, and then the closed speech marks again. And that will say, in other words, look for a pattern that's got the letters A to Z, either upper or lowercase, one or more occurrences. That's what the plus means. So we're going to be putting that in. So open speech marks, then it's open square brackets, A to Z, then a capital A to capital Z, close square brackets, plus for it to be one or more occurrences, so it can't be zero, and then close speech marks. And then close brackets and press enter, and that will give me the first pattern found in that text string, which is going to be Liam. It stops because the fifth character is a space, and that's not in there. That's what's going on. Now, if I copy this down one and go Control-C from in there, just put it in so I'm not typing the whole thing in again, I'm going to start playing with the other arguments in here. So there are two optional arguments. So the third argument is the return mode. And this is the first, as I say, of the two optional arguments, and it specifies which matches to return. And you can see clearly there are three alternatives. If you don't specify it, which is what we didn't do with the first one, it's 0, and it returns the first match, default. If you put a number 1 in there, it means bring in all matches. So it's going to bring in all the words in here that it can find. And if you go for the number 2, it captures groups of the first match. So it goes looking for whatever the first match was again and again and again. So you can go through that one. That can be useful too. I want it to do the 1. We want to return all matches here. So it's going to be spilling now. So we're going to have Liam and then Bastick. And then if I go to the final one, we can be case sensitive or we can be case insensitive. Notice I said in the slides that that's ignore case. In some versions of Excel, as you can see here, it's now called case underscore sensitivity. Depends what version of Excel you've got as to which it is, but just watch out for that. So going through, I'll just leave it like comma 1 and I press enter and it spills. Now, if you've got an earlier version of this function, it will actually spill down the column. So this would have been in cells C7 and C8. But Microsoft's had a bit of a change of mind on this one and thinks that because it's text, perhaps it should spill like text would. You'd expect it to go across a row, wouldn't you, rather than down a page. So if I want that to go into the green cells, what I'm going to have to do is then wrap this in the transpose function of Excel, which is one that's used with arrays all the time, and it turns rows of data into columns of data and vice versa. Bang. There you go. Liam Bastick in there. Amazing. So that's giving me some of my data and showing you how this works, and it's nice and simple. Now this function always returns text values, but you can convert these results back to numerical values if you were to use the value function, for instance. Let's have a look at another one. there's another regex extract here. I've got some data. Harry Potter, just made up the name here. That's the phone number. And then I've got his brother, Snooker Potter, and sister, Beatrix Potter, and so on, with all the phone numbers in here. What I want to do now is get a list just of the phone numbers down here. So I'm just trying to get that through from the actual matching of it. So got to be careful in here. I'm going to use equals reg x, and we're going to go for extract again. Now we're going to pick up here the cells A2 to A9, so we're going to end up with the spill formula. And then we'll say, okay, now that we've done that, what is the pattern going to be? So it's in speech marks, and we're going to be looking for the numbers 0 to 9 in brackets. So I'm going to put open square brackets, 0 to 9, and then open bracket, the round bracket, close. So that should be the open round bracket, I should say. Close round bracket, that's what we're looking for. And then it's going to be, after that, an actual square bracket with a plus. So one or more instances of that. And then I'll put a space. And then I'll do it again. 0 to 9. And then what I'll do after that is I want then the dash. So it's going to be the dash in here this time. Close square brackets. Plus, so one or more occurrences of that. So that's going to pick up the 5554195 with the dash in it. You see what I'm up to here. And then I'm going to go close speech marks. And then we'll go for the third one. We want all matches. And again, I won't worry about the ignore case or case sensitivity at the end. So close brackets, press enter, bang. We get all the phone numbers down. Now, why didn't that go across the row like the other one? Well, that one didn't go across the row this time because I specified A2 to A9, which is going down here. It's going down 8 rows in one column. So it follows the formatting, the actual size of the array that is specified here, which is why I don't need the transpose function in this case. But there you go. That's ways of showing what regex extract does. Let's move on. Next up is regex replace. To illustrate regex replace, I'm going to use a very common illustration here to put this through. In this one, I've got my data again. I've got Liam Bastick with no space this time. There's no space for me anymore. It's a bit sad. And how regex replace works is if I just click in here, let's have a look at the syntax. We've got, in this particular case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arguments, 3 required, 2 optional. So the first one is text again required. This is the text or reference to a cell containing the text you wish to replace strings within. The second one is again the pattern, again required. This is the regular expression or the regex that describes the pattern you wish to replace. Now the third one this time is also required. That's the replacement. What is it you want to have here? It's another required argument. This is the text you wish to replace with the instances of the pattern. But then the last 2 are optional. The fourth argument is occurrence and specifies which instance of the pattern you wish to replace. Now by default the occurrence is 0, but you can actually, if you want, replace more instances should you wish. So you could just go in here, if I'm in this one, the replacement, if you go to the next one, occurrence, you can see in here, you can put a number in should you wish. But we're just going to say, no, we're not putting anything in here. So by default, it's 0, which will replace, as I say, all the instances. And it should be noted that if you put a negative number in there, it replaces that instance searching from the end instead, so going back the other way. And then the final one, ignore case, or here as it is as case sensitivity, is again the final optional argument, which determines whether the match should be case sensitive or not. So again, if we're going through this, the case sensitivity 0 is a case sensitive match, which is the default, and 1 is a case insensitive match. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this syntax. It's put a comma in and pull this stuff through. But this is a really useful one, which you've often had to use Power Query for to swap these things around. And you can see you can do it formulaically. So you can copy this little thing down or look at the example file and see how this works to your heart's content. But I want to get on to fuzzy matching, so I just wanted to show how that might work. Now, again, this function always returns text values. And again, you may want to convert these back to numerical values. You'll have to use the value function. Let's have a look at the second regex replace example then. So I've got my phone numbers from the Potters again, and this time I want to sort of anonymize, there's a word that doesn't exist, the phone numbers by sort of getting rid of the middle bit, like you sometimes see in credit card details as well. So I'm going to use the regex replace function as follows. I'm going to go in regex, and I'll take it down to the second one and press tab. So I'm in regex replace, and I'm going to say, right, I want to actually go in here and highlight my A2 to A9, and then comma, the pattern has to be in speech marks, and we're going to want to replace in square brackets 0 to 9, close square brackets, plus, so we want one or more occurrences of a number with a dash. So it's going to take, we're going to be replacing the 555 bit and the dash. That's what we want to do. So we'll go close speech marks, and then it's, what do you want to replace it with? Well, this is just, the text. So I'm going to go in here, open speech marks, and I'm going to have 3 asterisks and a dash. Close speech marks, close brackets, and press enter. And you can see now we've got rid of the 555, which is a phone number that doesn't exist in the US anyway. But you can see in here it's spilled from above, and again it's going down because we've referred to the range A2 to A9. Simple as that. And so we come to our final regex function of the 3 at the moment, regex test. So regex test. This function allows you to check whether any part of supplied text matches a regular expression, your regex. It's going to return true if there is a match, and it will return false otherwise. And the syntax of the regex test function, well, if I just click on this formula here and go in, you can see we've got 3 arguments. First 2 are required, the final one is optional. So text required represents the text or the reference to a cell containing the text you wish to match against. The second argument, pattern, also required. This is the regular expression or the regex that you want to match. And the final one, either ignore case or here case sensitivity, is an optional argument and determines whether the match should be case sensitive. And as always, if I go in here and look at this and go comma, you'll see that 0 is the case sensitive match, which is the default, and 1 is a case insensitive match. So we'll do that. Now I'm not going to go through this syntax again. This is another useful one for testing whether or not something is an email address. So very convoluted here, looking for these things, but it's actually hunting out to check whether or not it qualifies as an email address, and it may be a test you want to do. No one said you need to be a world expert in good old PCRE2, now did they? Let's have a play though with some simpler illustrations. I've got the word alpha here, and I want to know whether this string contains the letter A. So I'm going to just type into cell C6 here, equals regex, and I want the regex test this time, that last one. I'm going to go to A2. Now I'm going to anchor it this time because I'm going to copy this formula down in a second, and I just want to see if it's got the letter A in there. So just in there like that. Does it contain the letter A? And go close brackets, and the answer is yeah, it does. It's true. So what about, are there any lowercase letters in there? Let's just copy that down, so it's still going for the letter A, but now put the right syntax in here, which is in square brackets A to Z. Close these square brackets in there and put that through. Yes, there are. Are there any uppercase letters? Well, again, we'll take this and copy it down one, and this time I'm going to have to replace the lowercase a to z with a capital A to capital Z, and the answer now is no, it's false. Are there any vowels? Well, let's put that in, and all you do here is replace this with the letters you're looking for, so it's A, E, I, O, U, which I think used to be a song, and yes, there are. And are there any numbers? Well, similar again. You just put in here. Now, I could go through and do this, but that's too much hassle. So what I'm going to do instead, if I come out of this again, is I've gone too far back with that, is I will instead go here and just put 0 to 9 and do it that way. And yes, you'll see here, there it's worked, but it's yes, there aren't any. So my weird yes, but That's how it works in this particular case. There are no numbers in here. And that's really how the three regex functions work. Now, this was more to show you know how that's come into Excel and the concept of regular expressions and pattern matching and using text and so on and so forth. But I want to extend this because that's useful in its own right. But I now want to bring in how can we do this to look up for things where we're not quite sure how something's spelt, we're not quite sure the person's name in terms of is there an alternative spelling, or I might be looking for something in the USA, but I don't know if they put USA or United States or North America. I know, sorry to our Canadians friends there with all this, but you get the idea of what I mean. So I want to talk now then about extending this whole idea. I've explained regular expressions. Now let's go and explain fuzzy matching. So we get to the crux of this particular video, which is fuzzy matching. When we are searching for approximate matches, in effect, with text. So fuzzy matching is a search technique that uses a set of what we call fuzzy rules to compare two text strings. Now, these so-called fuzzy rules allow for some degree of similarity, which makes the search process more efficient. So you might want to match United States with United States of America, or USA, or US, or just, U States, or United S, or whatever you want. And this fuzzy matching process begins by creating a list of words that are to be searched for in the text. Now we can either do this manually, where we say what is an equivalent text string, which is what we're going to do here, or fuzzy string matching can also use what's called artificial intelligence, AI, or machine learning technology that identifies similar but not identical elements in data table sets from stuff that it's learned. Just going back to the large language models out there and knowing that US is the same as USA is the same as United States, etc., because it's found it. It's gone and hunted it out there. Now, this requires using not the three regex functions we've done so far, but two that are in existence already, which have been modified. So the regular expressions functions have actually now gone back and changed signatures slightly for two functions that are already in existence. And that first one is the new XLOOKUP. So XLOOKUP has no less than 6 arguments. 3 are required: your lookup value, the lookup array, and the return array. And then what to do if not found, match mode and search mode are all optional. And it's this final optional argument that's had a 5th option put in there. So there were 4 before: 0, -1, 1, and 2. So 0 was the exact match. You had -1 was the exact match or next smaller. You had 1, which was the exact match or next larger. And 2 was for wildcard characters. But look at this now, you've got a 3 in here. The 3 there is for the regex match. So you can start looking for your patterns in here now. That's what we're doing. And it's not just XLOOKUP. XMatch can assist XLOOKUP with fuzzy matching as well. And we'll look at this with an example here. This is a simple one where we put it in. I'm going to go through it in the Excel file in a moment. And then once we've done this example, I'm going to make it cleverer by actually having a data table rather than doing a hard code to get our values. Simple as that. So let's go do it. Let's consider a problem that comes up quite regularly in just spreadsheeting or financial modeling, and that is fuzzy matching lookups. You may not know it as that, but it's something where you're looking for something where there may be synonyms for what it is you're actually looking for in here. So thinking, okay, I want to look up the first Australian sales. So you can see here I've got Aussie 13942, Australia 7119, and Oz 20438. I've also got Luxembourg, Vatican City, Netherlands, and Chile. Not bothered about those. I want the first sales in here that have something to do with Australia. And just going through in here, and this is a table, and I know it's a table because when I click inside it, you'll see up at the top I have a tab in here that's green. That's a context specific tab, table design. And if I click on that, you will see that this table is called country sales data. No spaces but underscores in there because space is an illegal character in here. So okay, we got that. So I could use XLOOKUP to find out my Australian sales, and I could go equal XLOOKUP. And I'm typing very slowly here because one of the annoying things about the beta version of Excel, which has all this regular expression stuff and all these exciting things in here, is it won't let you tab quickly. If you do, you'll just get a hash name because it doesn't recognize it quickly enough. But there it is, it's come up now. And I'm looking for Australia. I want something Australia, comma, and then the lookup array is going to be the country here. So it's going to be the country field in the table, country sales data, comma, and I want to return the corresponding value in the sales field in the same table. Close brackets, and it gives me 7119, which is right. The first occurrence of Australia in there is 7119. It's figured it out. Brilliant. Yeah, but I want it to be the first occurrence of something synonymous with Australia, which is actually the Aussie one of 13942. So I could use the regular expressions syntax here. Let me just add another row in here to, let's get this down one row here. So I'm going to go and use the syntax here. And I'm just going to put it in the same order as they occur here. There's no good reason to do it other than I'm just trying to be dogmatic in what I do. So I'm going to put Aussie here and then shift backslash, which is the pipe. And then after Australia, another shift backslash and put Oz. So I'm looking for Aussie, Australia, or Oz according to the PCRE2 tokens. Yep, and press enter. And I'll get #NA because it doesn't find anything. So if I were to change Luxembourg here and I typed in here Aussie and then the pipe and then I put instead Australia and then I put another pipe and put Oz, now it gives me the answer because it's looking for that. So I'll go Control Z. So that's not how I want it to work. I want it to work like the regular expressions. So this requires this XLOOKUP to have updated. So this is not available in all versions of Excel. So you have to keep going with the arguments. I'm not bothered about if not found, but I am bothered about the match mode. And you can see in here there are no longer 4 match modes. There's a 5th one been added, which is the bottom one. So 0 is the default, the exact match. Then we've got -1, which is the exact match or the next smaller item. We've got 1, which is the exact match or the next larger item. 2 supports wildcards, but 3 supports the regular expressions. And that's the one we want. This one, so press tab, put the 3 in here and press enter. And now it gives me the 13942 because that is the first occurrence of Aussie, Australia, or Oz. And if you think it's because I've got Aussie at the top, well, let me put Oz there instead. And it's still 13942. So it's got nothing to do with that. It's just finding the first one. It's done a fuzzy match where we've said Aussie, Australia, and Oz are equivalent to what we're looking for. And that's it. You know, that's it simply. Now, Xmatch also supports this. So let's say I was looking for the last occurrence of the sales value in this table. So we're going to go from the bottom up. So I'm going to go in here. What position is it? What row is it in there? So I'm going to go Xmatch and then bring that in. And we'll go and use the same syntax again. We're going to use Aussie, shift backslash, Australia, shift backslash, Oz, close speech marks. Australia's going to be so happy with me, keep name checking him, comma. I then want to go to the actual country here and find it. So we're going to look in there. And then we're going to go for the regular expressions match, so the number 3. And then for the last one, we're going to go search last to first, which is this second argument here, -1, close brackets. And that's going to tell me it's in position 6. So if I go through here, position 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there you go, Oz is at the bottom. And you can see Oz is the final one of those 3 looking here. So it doesn't matter what order you put those in. It's as simple as that. Now, as someone that preaches about best practice modeling and, you know, all the things that we have with that, consistency, robustness, flexibility, and transparency, I don't like hard code in my XLOOKUP and Xmatch functions. And I've put hard code in here to hunt out Australia. What happens if I want to put more in? Or something like that. So this was given as an example by Microsoft when they first launched it, showing how this could work, not with Australia, but, you know, with other things in here. And I thought, well, let's make this more flexible. So let's go on. And here's an example now where I'm going to use the indirect function to help me out. So indirect, by the way. So if I put in here G36 in this cell here, G36, and then I go here, equals indirect, and I go okay and click on this cell and press enter, it gives me 59701. Huh? That's because it goes here and sees that the contents of cell Q36 is G36, so it goes to G36, which is this, and returns that value. So if I change that to G38, it will now give me 51236. It's an indirect reference to somewhere else, which can be clever when you want to actually change things, and that's what we're going to use to help us with this. So again, I've got my countries and I've got my sales, and I've actually now changed the countries. So for Australia, I have got the synonyms Aussie, Australia, Oz, Down Under, and Lucky Country all going for that. For Germany, I've got Germany, Deutschland, East Germany, and West Germany. And for the United States of America, I've got USA, United States of America, United States, and US of A for these. And I've got extra rows if I wanted to put them in too. So I'm now specifying what I want my fuzzy matches to be. Now, this last row here is going to be my helper row. It's going to give me some stuff in here. Now, at the moment, there's nothing in here, but I'm going to say I want to put something in here. So I'm going to say, right, I'm going to use the text join function. Now, actually, before putting it in there, let's instead put it here equals text join. And this is like a concatenation and say, right, what am I going to join it all up with? I'm going to join it up with a shift backslash. Oh, I see where you're going. You're going to bring in all these characters and separate them with a backslash, and then use the indirect function to, put the things. Yeah, you see where I'm going here. It's coming together. So I want to put that in. Now, I want to ignore empty cells, so get rid of those. If I don't and put false, I'd have to use that brand new Excel function that's come out, trim range. I'm not going to do that here, but if you're interested, trim range just trims ranges down to get rid of leading and lagging spaces. But I'm going to say no, I want to ignore empty cells, so I don't have to worry about that. Comma, and then I'm going to go here and take J36 to J43, and what that will do is it will give me Aussie, Australia, Oz, Down Under, and Lucky Country. And if I were to copy that into this cell, that will give me Germany, Deutschland, East Germany, West Germany. So it's got the same things that I was using for the syntax up here. You see, it's the same idea. But what I'm going to do is take this formula here and go Control C and paste it into here where it will become invisible. This is my helper row. And then I'll just copy that across so I've got them in there. I don't need them here, so I've just made them invisible, but they're in there to help me out. And then I want my region I actually want to select here. So I'm going to use data validation to actually create this for me. So I'm going to click on this cell and go to data, and then go to data validation and click on here. Alt DL is the keyboard shortcut amongst others. And I'm going to have a list, and I want to select for my source. Click on this. I want these things, J35 to L35, which is the headings here. And then click OK. So I can choose either the drop down Australia, Germany, or USA. So I'll pick Australia, and then this is language that sales for Australia. If I change it to Germany, I'll see sales for Germany. See, clever. And now I can actually write my formula in here for what I want to actually put in here. Now, I need to actually have a trap in here if it can't find anything. So I'm going to start with equals if error. So if error, and I'm going to use my X lookup. And then I need to use my indirect. So indirect, and I'm going to go indirect in here, and I'm going to go to this cell here, H49, close brackets. What's going on there? Why will that work? More on that in a minute. So that's going to go here. Then I'm going to go to my table, which is here. And this one's called another table. Nothing if not imaginative. Comma. I then want the sales. Comma. Then if it's not found, I want it to just be open and close speech marks. So it's just be blank. Otherwise, I want it to be the regex match. 3, close brackets. And then if it's an error, I want it to be open and close speech marks as well, just in case. Right, and that gives me my value for 59701 If I change it to Germany, the first occurrence of Germany is here, 13968, which happens to be the first one. And if I change it to USA, it gives me 51236, which is the United States of America is the first one that comes up. Now, how did that work? Well, let's consider the formula. Let's go and have a look at the formula again. If error, well, that's just trapping it if there's any errors come up. So if the thing is blank, for instance, so if I don't specify anything in the data validation list is why I'm using that. Otherwise, that won't trap for the XLOOKUP with the if not found. XLOOKUP is working as fine as you want, except for indirect H49. Now, H49 is this cell here, which is USA, Australia, and Germany. So it's looking for USA, the cell reference USA, Australia, or Germany. Now, if I go to the name box, something I didn't tell you is in here, I've named this cell J44 Australia. And guess what I've named this cell? Germany. And this one is called USA. So when I go in here, it's replacing whatever I pick up H49, so USA, it's going to look for the USA reference, which is here, and it's going to put in United States of America, pipe, United States, pipe, USA, US of A. I have made the whole thing flexible. It's a simple trick, and it's made it nice and happy. Now, some people don't like indirect because the trouble with indirect is it's what we call a non-auditable function. So if I go up here and I go to this one, say formulas, well, let's go to USA here and go formulas and go trace dependence in here. You'll see it doesn't appear to be working. It confuses it. So it's a cell that keeps recalculating all the time. And a lot of people don't like that in larger files. It can use up memory and can cause problems and all sorts. But more on that later. So just watch out. It is what we call a volatile function. Similarly, I can do with X match for the last occurrence in the table. I can go in here equals again if error in case the data validation happens to be blank. Then I'll use my X match, open brackets, again use the indirect on this cell here, H49, so it's going to go for the actual range names, and then we'll go for the country field in this table, the another table, and then it's going to be comma. We want it to be the regex match, and we want to look at it searching last to first. So it's going to be -1, close brackets. And then if the data validation list is blank, we want the whole thing to be blank. And that will say it's in position 8. So USA, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Indeed, the bottom row is United States. And it works fine. Now, if you don't like the fact that I have actually used in here this volatile function indirect, there is an alternative way to actually put this in. So what I've got here is another table. I've got United States of America and all this in here, 51236 with the numbers, or I could just use the same table as above. And that's essentially what I've done, because this text joins the same as above here, but I'm actually referring in here to these range names. We'll still pick up these. So I'm assuming this table here is going to be exactly the same as this. So it's like a continuation of this one. I'm showing an alternative way of doing this without using indirect. So let's try again, make it more dynamic without the volatility then. So I'm going to go equals if error, open brackets. Again, we'll use an X lookup, open brackets. And this time we're going to use another X lookup. So we're going to have a nested X lookup rather than indirect. I'm going to say, right, I want to find this value, H76, comma, and I'm going to pick up in here, in this range here, J62 to L62. So we're going to find it in there, comma, and we're going to return the values down here in J71 to L71. So we are picking it up this way. So we're not using the range names this time. We could do it that way if we wanted to, but I'm going this way. So that's going to find the right cell. So if it's here USA, it's going to pick up L71 is what's going to go in here. So it's going to pick up that, comma, and then we're going to go to yet this other table, which is called yet another table for country, see, comma, we're going to return the sales here, comma. If it's not found, we'll put open speech marks, close speech marks, and then it's going to be a regular expressions match. Close brackets, and if the data validation happens to be blank, open and close speech marks, close brackets, and that's an alternative way of doing it where we're not using the range names this time, we're using a lookup to find the right one. See? Works. And similarly, we can do the same with the last occurrence in the table. Similar idea, so equals if error, open brackets, X match, open brackets, again the X lookup expression that we did before. So that's going to be looking up H76 in this range up here, so J62 to L62, and returning the value in J71 to L71, close brackets, comma. We're going to go for the country field in yet another table, comma. We want it to be a regular expression match, comma. We want it to search last to first, that's -1, close brackets, and then if all happens to be blank, open and close speech marks, and it's 8. Now, normally we see, X lookup with X match the other way around. Here we've got an X match X lookup, so it's doing it a bit of a weird way round, but this gets round the need to put the actual range names in, so we don't need to put names in for this. So here, that is not called Australia, this is not called Germany, this is not called USA. We're just looking it up, and we don't need an indirect because XLOOKUP can be used to refer to references instead. Now, that's really what I wanted to show in this particular session, but just while I'm here, let me show you other things you can do with XLOOKUP and XMatch with regular expressions. You can locate non-numerical data, for instance. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole formula, I've already put it in here. If you had all these part numbers in here, I was going to tell you that in here, not all of these are just numbers. Somewhere there's a letter. Can you find it? The first non-numeric value happens to be in row 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Really? Yes, because the O in here, do you see all this? That O is the letter O, not the number 0. Crafty, aren't I? And this actual formula will hunt it out. So it's going to X match, and it's going to say, right, I'm looking for something that isn't 0 to 9. And if you can't find anything, it's going to come back with everything's numerical. And the corresponding value, we can use index to hunt it out and put it through. We can also go looking for adjacent repeated letters that are case sensitive, and I've got that going here. You'll see I've got Apple, which has got adjacent letters repeated, a lowercase p and a capital case P? You mean uppercase P or capital letter, Liam? I can't speak English now. The first occurrence actually where I've got 2 letters in a row that are both uppercase or both lowercase and the same letter is in cheese, which is in position 6, which is what this is doing here. And again, it's using some weird syntax to get it through. It's not about understanding all that here. It's showing you about what's possible. Lot to take in, a lot of new things going on with regular expressions, but we can now do fuzzy matching. If you want to make it all so that it's completely flexible, you can use a nested XLOOKUP, or use XLOOKUP with indirect and define some range names, or you can hard code it, not recommended. But they're there, this is the future, and it's coming at you now. So really all that's left for me to say at the end of this is, what versions of Excel is this all possible in it? So if you want to play with it, go play with it, because you should. These are great new functions. You've got 3 new functions and 2 new additional functionalities in XLOOKUP and XMatch. And also, you can ask Copilot to help you identify the right regular expression patterns if you're not familiar with PCRE2 or whatever it's called. And it's being rolled out in the beta channel right now. You will need patience, though. I found it a bit troublesome getting all these things, but they are coming. For Windows, you need version 2406, which is build 17715.20,000 or later. And for Mac, you need version 16.86, build 24051422 or later. But it's coming. You should play with it because it's going to make your life easier, and you're not going to need to use Power Query to do these things. You'll have a formulaic alternative, which is going to be more powerful in case you forget to hit refresh. Well, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this session. That was fuzzy matching in Excel with regex functions. I'm leaving my contact details up here now, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy this session, as I say, my name is Liam Bastick. If you didn't enjoy this session, my name is Catherine Newitt. Otherwise, thanks for listening, stroke watching. You can download the files from the website. That will be all coming later. And I hope you enjoyed the rest, if there is anything left, of Excel Virtually Global 2024. Bye for now.